About this love. About this love.
How you guys doing today? You are tuned into About This Love podcast with myself, Dale, and my beautiful wife, Sherelle. Say what's up to the peoples.
What's up, peoples?
Hope you guys had a good week, good weekend. Today, for our podcast episode, I had mentioned it on the last episode as it relates to being married or having a partner. I guess what men and women want in a spouse. Is income considered? When you marry, I listened to quite a few interviews with an individual. I don't really want to name because I don't really want to promote his brand. And also, while I agree with a lot of his methods and the things that he says, I also disagree with a lot of it as well. So I don't like to promote things I don't really agree with 100% coming from that perspective. So, but one of the things that I will say is that it's just an individual that I've been listening to lately on YouTube. They talk to women. Usually, I mean, it's between, I would say, late 20s and early late 20s and early 40s. But the majority of the women that I've been listening to on his interviews is like mid 30s or early 40s. But he talked to women of all ages. A lot of the women who call into this individual's podcast, they all want men to make over a certain amount of money, which to me is 100% fine. The problem that I don't think a lot of us realize, men and women, is that when you actually begin to do the percentage, because like a lot of the individuals that call into the podcast, like, yeah, I want somebody that makes over 100K, or some say 200,000. And when you really begin to do the percentage of people who make that in America, it's like 12.3%. Really, it's 20%, but only 12.3% of it are men. And it's not like just black men. It's all men. So when you begin, if you're somebody that says, "Well, I just want an Asian, or I just want a Hispanic, or I just want an African American," then you begin to subtract more from that percentage. So and one of the things that I was talking to my wife about is that, like, if a woman says, or if a woman or man says, I want a spouse to make $100,000 a year, that's 20% of the income. I mean, of people in America that make that 20-something%. And if you're a woman, for men, it's just 12.3%. So what you're actually doing is you're actually cutting out about 75% of men who may make $75,000 or under. And so what it does is, for individual men and women, is it lessens your chances of getting married. If the income is your only basis, like, well, she or he has to make $100,000 a year, well, it actually just lessens your chances of getting married if that mentality doesn't change. So I just wanted to kind of talk about that. So what are your views and thoughts of that? And when we got married, was there a specific number of income that you were thinking that I had to make?
So you've asked about 10 questions, and I guess I'm just going to try to get to all of them. Well, for one, what I was thinking when you first kind of brought the topic up and you wanted to continue on the conversation within this podcast episode, I was thinking, what are we basing our standard on, Because if there's a standard, then we can start from there. But you're talking about someone in particularly who wants to marry into a certain income, or marry an individual who has a certain financial status, which, I mean, with the pandemic and everything that's going on, we see how quickly those things could change, right?
Uh-huh.
And I mean, but when you and I got married, no, that never came into question, the exact the dollar amount you had to make, for us to, or for you to qualify as like a suitable husband, right? But the one thing I did consider, among other things, right, among many other things, was, are you a hard worker? Do you mind doing work? Do you mind caring for someone else other than yourself? Do you mind taking on a wife who has a child? Because that was my circumstance at the time. Like,
yeah.
How do our lifestyles mesh together? Forget how much money you may make. And I won't say forget it, because, it does make a difference. You can be broke and in love, and you could be rich and in love, or you could be broke and unhappy, or be rich and unhappy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so I just think that people just need to consider their standards. Like, you need to revisit your standards, because if you don't have an understanding of provision, then yeah, I will look to my future partner, the person I want to marry, and that will be my sole purpose of wanting to be with someone is, okay, if we combine our resources, how much better are we going to be on the other side? You know what I'm saying?
Yes, I understand what you're saying. As you were talking, I was like, yeah, when we got married, I don't really think I really considered how much money you made, or I don't. That didn't really matter to me. If I could say, in the individual, oftentimes when he speaks to the women who call in on his podcast, he'll say that men don't really care about that when it comes to women and how much money they make. And I don't think that's necessarily true as a whole. I just think that men don't care about it as much as women do. And I understand why women care about it, because if you understand the nature of women, and even throughout the biblical times, women want to be provided for, they want to be cared for. Even in the scriptures, women would, pray for sons, because if the husband dies, then the woman can be cared for even after her husband passes away, because the son of the men are the sense of provision. I think I just understand the nature in which God created men and women. Women are nurturers. They take care of our children. Men are a sense of security and provision. So I've always understood that sense. But I think maybe it's because I'm married. I've kind of been out of the loop for a while, for 5 years, 6 years. Maybe this existed, when I was single. I wasn't really cognizant of it, just whether it wasn't on my mind, But recently, as I watched relationship videos, I watched an interview with the young lady who got famous off IG. I watched an interview with the young lady who dated, what was it, Quavo? And when I watched the interview, I was thinking to myself, like, wow. One of the things I was saying to myself was, wow, because when I was hearing her talk, she would talk as if, well, if you don't make at least, 7 to 8 figures, to me, you broke. And what I was thinking to myself, well, wow, it's interesting hearing people talk that way, because most of the people who probably support you are people who would you consider broke people. So it's like to even have the audacity to even come out of your mouth and say something like that, you know what I'm saying? It's like, wow. But I guess from the standpoint, it's like, well, I guess she can date who she wants to date. But is there an income preferences when it comes to relationship? I mean, I know subconsciously that there is, but it's like, does it have to be a specific number? Because I think about me and my wife, and just when we got married, money really wasn't there. Go ahead and keep it 100. There wasn't any savings. There wasn't any moving money to this account, because we didn't have money to move. All the money we had was the money we were paying bills with, and we prayed to God that we had $20 after everything was paid to put gas in the car.
You said $20,000?
No, $20 to put gas in the car after until we got paid the next time.
I was gonna say, you had $20,000 going into the wedding and you ain't say nothing?
Nah.
Okay. I thought you was trying to say you had something
Nah, I wish.
An offshore account or something you wanted to tell me about. No, you know what? As you're saying that, I'm just thinking people come up with all types of things to make themselves feel secure in a relationship. Maybe we were talking about this on a previous podcast episode, or we could have been speaking about it just in person. I don't remember at this point in time. But there was a young lady who made a video about how to know if a man will pay for your bills, right? If he'll give you money, if he's willing to spend money on you. And it's like, maybe that could be our culture here. In a different country, it could be if a man, I don't know, takes care of the people in the village, or, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I just think that we come up with things based on our circumstances, our upbringing. I would ask those women, like, are you trying to marry those men? A few years ago, I know the conversation was big on, like, women had to be a certain body type. You know what I'm saying? To be desired. I mean, not even to be marriable, marriage material.
That's also
desired.
coming back around now. That's also coming back around now.
Well, you know what? Honestly, I think because I just seen it today, actually. It's a word, I think it's like It's kind of similar to polygamy. I don't remember the word, but I seen it somewhere where it was because of the amount of sexual relationships that people are engaging in. They have multiple sexual relationships with, different people.
Is this agreed upon, or like just like I'm doing me?
Like I'm not, but like I'm doing me. Like I'm sleeping with this person, I'm sleeping with that person, but I'm not seeing nobody seriously, and they like I'm doing my thing, they doing their thing kind of thing, and we're not
Yeah.
going to ask, you know what I'm saying? So I think because of the lack of commitment, those who want some sort of commitment, I think it's a reach for trying to find some sort of monogamy in these relationships that aren't leading to marriage. And so
Oh, okay. I get what you're saying. So what you're saying is, if you're gonna be with somebody, he might as well have money. Is that kind of what you're saying?
Yeah. I mean, I may have said this earlier in the podcast, but you've heard people say, well, I mean, I might as well be crying in a Porsche instead of crying in, a beat up car. Like I could wipe away my tears with my money or whatever. But it like we honestly don't realize it does not make us happy. Some of the most well known
I was thinking about Will and Jada.
I was gonna say that. I was gonna say them, but people who have money, some have, off themselves.
Yeah.
And because they're just unhappy. Like years ago, it was a food critic who traveled the world, like eating bizarre food.
Yeah, I think was he the one Dave Chappelle talked about in his stand-up comedy?
Maybe so. But I mean, you just start to think like money really does not buy you happiness. It can buy you things. But when you broke, you don't know that. And I hate to say when you broke, you don't know that.
When you broke.
Huh?
When I was broke, I knew I was broke.
No, I'm not saying that, Dale. What I'm saying is just that when you're on the other side of things, the grass is always greener on the other side, right? So, and that's a very worldly saying, but whatever, it's out there, but it's so true. It's like I'm sitting here, I'm seeing, all these IG models make it big. They're in the house, they're in the yacht, and I'm over here bed on the floor. Like my mattress is on the floor. I got roaches. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, and I'm giving an extreme or a semi-extreme circumstance, but I wanted to map out the difference in lifestyles because I'm looking at somebody like that who has, the yacht, who can be flued out by, I don't know, Michael B. Jordan or whoever, right? Or by any celebrity that they want to be flown out by and go wherever they want to go and buy whatever. Because those are the things that I want. Because in my mind, I feel secure when I have X, Y, and Z. So even though I'm just giving a general maybe idea or thought that maybe some of these women are having. So when they are looking at or, seeking out a mate, whether or not they want to marry them, but they just want to be in some sort of serious relationship with them. It's like, well, at least I'm not with Tyrone, who's broke.
And beating me.
Exactly. Oh my goodness. We talked about this like a few episodes back. There was a YouTube couple, they're young. They're probably millionaires. They're little miniature millionaires, right? But there was like a cheating scandal, and apparently that wasn't the first time. And you and I discussed it. It was like, so are they going to stay together? I mean, look at who's in the media right now? Another relationship guru. Him and his wife are in the media. And
you're talking about, was it something Jackson?
Yeah, something Jackson. I've come across his stuff like a few times, but I hadn't really dove into it because I mean, I don't know. It didn't keep my attention. But it's a big scandal, and people are just like, well, why would you stay with him? And it's like, it's a no-brainer. Why? For us, for believers, it's like, well, praise God that she took him back and that, she's making it work with her husband. Yes. But the reality could be, look, we got these kids together. I'm accustomed to a certain lifestyle and my bills being paid.
That's real. That's real because I was listening to a YouTuber, on a guy on YouTube. A woman had called in to his to his YouTube show or whatever. And they were talking about cheating, and she was saying how I'm sorry, they were talking about relationship status, and she said she was single, and he asked her, has she been married before, and she said yes, and he said, well, how did the relationship end? And she said, my husband, I caught my husband cheating, So then that's when they got into the how much money a man needs to make, and then he asked her a question. Well, if your husband was a millionaire and he cheated, would you have left him? And bizarre enough, I respect her honesty. She said no. She said we probably could have worked it out. And then he asked the question, so, why didn't you guys work it out then? Instead of getting divorced. And of course, you all listening know the answer to that because he wasn't a millionaire. That's why. So I say all that to say that just to kind of what you're saying is true. Women and men tend to tolerate more when there's more zeros behind a person's name than Joe Smo working at City Hall, making like 50 grand a year. It's like,
hey, that's
out.
Really nice. You gave Joe Smo working at City Hall and not being a plumber, not doing a trade. And I say that because the conversation is coming up now. I'm in different entrepreneurial groups. A lot of them are saying, get a trade because, these men, you're putting down trades. Everyone wants to run and go to college and it doesn't work out for them. But trades, there's money in a trade as well.
Oh yeah. Yeah. No lie. Me and my wife, we just came back today, taking one of our vehicles to the mechanic. One of my coworkers owns a mechanic shop, but man, you talking about those guys make money, especially like on weekends. Those guys make money.
But so, Dale, but here's the thing. What is the standard? I think with all of these things.
That's what I want to ask you.
What do you call? Okay, but that's what I want to talk about.
What I wanted to. Okay, so let's kind of get into our segue as it relates to having a family. Let's say of 2 or 3, and
having 2 or 3 families, or
having a family of 2 or 3.
Okay.
In your opinion, how much money would you need to have a family of 2 or 3? Yearly income versus how much money would you need to be able to live off of if you were single?
I'll say this. I cannot put a number to it. It is based on my lifestyle. And let me tell you why. I cannot put a number to it.
Can you give me a number, please?
No, and I'm not going to give you a number. You are not going to get that.
You're going to give me a number.
And let me tell you why. Because there are people who live on less and they bring home so much more money than the average American, than the average couple or average family. They are living on less. They're either couponing or they wearing the same shirt, pants, and shoes every day. You know what I'm saying? And so
since you won't,
I'm not, I don't think you should either. Because I'm not gonna answer for you.
I'll probably say, 1, it depends on where you live at, and 2, because what a family of 2 is 29 grand any money? No, it's not.
Okay, this is a very Americanized first world problems. I was on video chat with my friend the other day, and I had a robe on, and I'm walking around the house. And so she was like, man, why do you have a robe on? So apparently she's like out running around, running errands. It's 89 degrees outside. And so I was like, oh, it's so cold. The AC, has the house, blasting with cold air, right? And so she's like, you know what? And I stopped her. I said, listen, I know this is very first world problems, because if I was in a different country or a different area or had a different lifestyle, I would be thankful that my house is cold or at least cool when it's hot outside. But here I am walking around with a robe, and I probably wouldn't even think twice about it because of the way I came up. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I probably would be used to the cool or the heat, or be able to acknowledge it, but I'm not like dying of it. I just think that we are in a cushy lifestyle. Like a lot of us, when the latest phone come out, we got the latest phone. When a new gadget or something is out or a new thing, we can run and go get it, right? So we're used to that lifestyle. When you get married, you instantly cannot, or even in a relationship, when you are in a relationship with someone and it's getting serious, you guys are combining finances or trying to even achieve something as far as, let's say you guys want to buy a car together or get an apartment together. You guys start talking about finances, right? Yeah. You start comparing like, well, what you spending? What you doing over there? Hey, I thought our goal was to X, Y, and Z. But it's like, you now have to consider the other person, right? And then also their hobbies and what they like and how much that costs. So no, I do not think you could put a price on it. And for you to even set a number, our kids are young right now. What if all of our kids join a sport, get a hobby, you know what I'm saying? And then they have friends, and then we're living the American,
I'll say this right here.
Lifestyle.
I'll say this right here. You do have to put a number on it. And I'll say that because I remember when I was in middle school, my mother got a piece of land her stepfather gave her. But I think in most places, you have to at least put a dollar amount on it. Even if you give somebody a car, you got to please put a dollar amount on it, if it's $1. So he gave her a piece of land for little to nothing. She got a double wide. Most of my middle school to high school, even after I got to high school, we lived there. What's my point? My point in saying all of this is that a year before my mother passed away, 2 years before my mother passed away, I found out that she lost her land and our home that I grew up in. So you do have to put a dollar amount on it. I'm not saying
hold on to be in a relationship.
No. What I'm saying is that I'm not about to go like some of the people who are superficial. Well, you got to have at least 6, 8 figures. No, not at all. But coming into a relationship, even before I married you, men in our lives who are still in our lives now, who we consider father figures, in the faith, told me, if you're going to marry this woman, you need to be able to provide for her and her child, period. So what I'm saying is this right here. I'll be frank. I could not have provided for a woman and a child what I was making when I was 19, 20 years old. That's a fact, because I had a roommate and we were splitting the bills 50-50. So yeah, I thought I was living it up. I thought I was balling, but it's like, no, we have to be realistic. People, well, I'm gonna get married and we love each other. Listen, man, love ain't gonna pay the bills. You know what I'm saying? Like I've been there in my adult life. We've been there financially struggling. So it's like, I'm not saying that I have to be I have to make a certain amount of money a year. No, but what I am saying is that I do have to be realistic. Can I provide for my wife and my children, or if it's the woman who has a husband who say, can I provide for my children and my husband who stays at home with our children? We have to be realistic. Is there a specific number? I don't think it is, but is there like, well, I make $20,000? Come on, man, get real. But people at Burger King make $18,000 a year. Come on, man, get real, yo. Like, come on.
That's what the point that I'm trying to make. Like, you're saying that there shouldn't be, or there should be a number, but I'm
not saying there should be a number, but I'm not saying there should be a specific number, but what I am saying is that there should be a number as it relates to, can you provide for a family on this salary, period.
Okay. If that's what you're saying, then I can agree to that, because based on, and no, I do not think people have those conversations when dating to be married, or even while dating. I don't think people ever had that conversation. It's not the norm anyways, because you start talking about money and it's like, well, it don't matter. Your money, my money, my money.
Matter of fact, Sherelle, did you forget that before you and I got married, I switched careers? Did you forget that? Do you know why? Because I couldn't have provided for a family on that salary. That's why I did that. That's real talk. Like I've spoken to, again, men in our lives now who I know, who we still with our lives and speak into our marriage, have told me out of their own mouth, once my wife had a second child, I had to get another career. Period. Why? Because I could not provide for my family on my current salary. Okay. That's real talk. Like, okay, well, I got the Lord and we got love. Listen, man, when the baby got a fever and got to be taken to the hospital, love ain't gonna pay that hospital bill. And I'm not going to put a specific number on it, because I think for each family it's different. And like you said, it does depend on the individual's lifestyles and what they got going on. But I will say, again, I've spoken to multiple men who have told me I had to switch careers because my wife had a second child and my current carear was no longer able to provide for my family. That's real talk.
Yeah.
So why?
Agree with that.
Because money is why. Otherwise I would have stayed where I was at, because I was comfortable there.
And I will agree with that. I mean, unless you have family who, one, do not mind coming into your life, or if already in your life and a part of your marriage, who you guys have a situation figured out as far as like, okay, they don't mind taking care of X, Y, and Z. I mean, but one thing I learned early in life as a young adult, everything comes at a price. So and I hate to say that people are like this, but 10 times out of 10, or should I say 9.9 times out of 10, if family is doing something for you, right? And not to deter people from, family, because there are family who genuinely want to.
Yeah, that's not always.
Want to see you like kind of get in a better position, so they are going to help you, but that still comes at a price. That comes and the price could be lip service, meaning they are wanting to know your comings and goings as an adult. You know what I'm saying? They want to know what you're doing with your money as an adult. There's been times as an adult before you and I got married, I had to move back home several times with my child as a single mother. You talk about making sacrifices. Remember, before you and I got married, my apartment got flooded. So instead of getting another apartment, I moved back home I moved with my grandparents.
Yeah, I remember that, yeah.
I moved with my grandparents. Me and my son shared a bed for months. For months.
I thought it was half a year.
Hey, that's months, Dale. Months. We shared a bed so I could save money. And then, you know, there's been times I've moved back home to save money because I'm like, instead of having my son be put out or having my son and I be put out on the street because I couldn't make rent, let me just not re-sign a lease and let me go home because my mother allowed me to. I had the space to go back home. However, that came at a price. That meant, was I going out? Was I spending money? Was I taking trips? No, ma'am. Was I shopping? Was I bringing in shopping bags? Because, you know, your family will see that and be like, hey, what's going on here? Like, you're not paying me, but I see you doing this and that. And I think people get it twisted. You know what I'm saying?
Also, you gotta be responsible as well. You know, because when I met you, because you had a joke. When I met you, I was staying with my mother. You know what I'm saying? So I think that, but again, I was sticking my bread up, whatever.
Oh, but I didn't know that when I first met you. I mean,
it's all good.
I thought you were bumming it.
Sherelle, I'll be honest. Like, as a father and a husband, because you know, when we got married, we both worked, and one of the concerns that I had was, well, if Sherelle ever got hurt, or if I got hurt, could Sherelle maintain the bills until I got back, you know, I can work. And lo and behold, an incident happened in our marriage where we both were out of work, you know,
at the same time,
you know, but luckily, I was able to get the disability from my job. I'm saying all of this to say, like, one of the things that, like, I actually ask couples is like, listen, if your husband wasn't able to contribute to the household bills, or if your wife wasn't able to contribute to the household bills, could you still be able to provide for your family, you know? And to me, as a man, this is just me, Dale Skinner. When the answer to me was no, it forced me to switch career paths. I'll be honest with you. I know people who, them and the wives split bills 50-50, and I'm cool with that, you know what I'm saying? I'm cool with that, but the question I always asked in my back of my head was, what if he gets hurt? Because, I mean, I work in a job where any given day, you can go out there and get busted a kneecap with a hammer, with a maul, with a machine, and you out of work.
Yeah, but just because they split the bills 50-50 doesn't mean that they couldn't pay the bills 100%.
No.
Or that they're not putting...
No, I agree.
They're not saving it.
But I just asked the question. I just asked the question because that's just how my mind wanders. Like, I'm not saying that that's the case at all. I'm just saying, but for us, that wasn't the case.
Well, I have a question for you then. Is that the case for when someone gets married? Should that be the requirement, or, you know, something for people to consider before getting married? And I have a reason why I'm asking that.
I just know this is what I feel. This is with the men in my life who've been married 20 plus years now, still in my life, like I said before, told me, if you are going to marry this woman, you need to be able to provide for her and her son. They said, what is that? You might ask. The very necessities: a place to stay, food in the fridge, utility bills and things on in the house working, and a car so she can get back and forth to work. That's the basics. That is the very basics. If she want Gucci, or if she want a BMW, or if she want Prada, then she might need to go ahead and get her another job and get that. Because as a man and a father, I'm going to provide the basics for my family. And they will have a lot of that. They have a lot of food in the house. They have money for gas to be in the car. I'll say, for me as a man, and I have a daughter, and I have 2 sons. And for my daughter, I'm going to tell her straight up, if a man can't take care of you the way your father was, then you don't need to marry him, period. I'm not saying he got to have a BMW. I'm not saying he got to have a Benz or Gucci or Prada, no. But he needs to be able to provide for you a place of shelter, be able to provide for you your own vehicle, if you don't already have one, but she probably will, and he needs to be able to put gas in your vehicle and food in the fridge. But that's it. Outside of that, I don't care how much you make. I don't care if you make 40, 50 grand. I don't care. That's not important to me. What's important is that my daughter is loved and she's cared for. To my sons, if you want to get married, can you take care of this woman? And if the answer is no, then you're not ready for marriage. But that's my requirements. I'm not saying that may be Sherelle's requirements or Bob or Bill and Jill and Dill. That's Dale Skinner's requirements for his children. That's my requirements. That's the requirements that was given to me by men of God in my life. So that's the requirements that I have for my children. Be able to provide the very necessities for life: shelter, food, and transportation.
Man, I just want to say this. Being 5 years into marriage, that is a very low standard. I just want to say that. But wait. No.
He said a low standard?
No. I mean, okay, those of y'all who are listening, if you've been married longer than we have,
standard.
like, you get what I'm saying, right?
It's a low standard.
But I mean, like, no, seriously. Let me tell you why. Because, and so I did ask you, if you are considering to be married, that is a very basic low standard. Not low, but I'm saying that's a stepping stone standard. I should say, I'm sorry, I take back low standard. That's a stepping stone.
That's kind of like diminishing.
No, I didn't mean it that way. I'm sorry.
So what she's saying is you got to put her in a category with the one on YouTube. You got to make 6 to 8 figures to be with her.
I mean, I just need to know if you could pay my bills first. No, Dale, no. That's not what I mean at all. Don't say that. Don't be misrepresenting me out here on these streets, even though I did it myself. No, what I meant was that is a stepping stone standard. That's something to start on. You know what I'm saying? Because, like, you got to start somewhere. And I think it's doable. Yeah. It's very doable. And you do have to consider that. You know, I don't think I've ever heard you say that before today. Maybe I have. I just don't remember at this time.
I think it's because now that I'm a father and a husband, like, you know, I mean, I know many of you guys probably listen to our podcast. My wife doesn't work a 9 to 5. She runs our business and takes care of our children. I work, and I also run our business along with her. So for me, and maybe it's because of the great men that God put in my life. That was their requirement for me.
No, and I'm thankful. I'm thankful for that because, like I said, I didn't even know that. And if I'm honest, my standard was a little bit different than your standard.
You're saying he got to have a good government job with some good government benefits and some government cheese.
You know, it's so funny. I used to say that as a kid with my mom. I was like, you know, if they wear a uniform, they got benefits.
I don't want a uniform.
Dale,
I got benefits.
Dale, I mean, look, that was the running joke. Like, oh, they work for the government, or oh, they got a uniform, they got benefits. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Like, so that was the standard in my mind. Like, get somebody in a uniform because they got benefits, even though that's not true. But either way, my standard was a little bit different. I think my standard, because I didn't really have nothing to base it off of. You know what I'm saying? I didn't have I really didn't have nothing realistically to base it off of, other than I wanted somebody who would accept my son, and not I love you, so I love your son, but, you know, really want to be a father to my son. You know, someone who had a heart for the Lord, and someone who wanted to be in a monogamous, committed relationship. Like,
I was about to say something else.
What you thought I was about to say?
Go ahead.
Yeah, you probably shouldn't say it. Okay. No, but, you know, so that was like, that's literally my standard, or what my standard was at the time, or my thought process at the time. And that's what I had to go off of because, you know, and if I'm honest, I really didn't run it by anybody.
Yeah.
And really because I felt like I've heard all types of advice. Like, somebody said that, oh, well, you guys should be best friends before you get married. And I'm like, best friends? Like, best friends? I don't know. Like, that's, you know what I'm saying?
I mean, I'll say friends, yeah, but best friends? Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
I mean, I don't know. So everyone has their own. Basically, what I realized is that when you ask different couples and different things, everyone has
different criteria.
Yeah, they have different criteria, and I think it's probably tailored to their own experience, their own life. Like, somebody might want, another woman might want a man that really, you know, like, loves whatever her father loves, or, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you know what else is true that I will say? Mm-hmm. And I never thought about it. Again, being married to you, saying you stay at home with our children. A few different men have told me this over the years, men of God. I never thought much about it. I'm like, man, whatever. I don't know what he's talking about. But he was like, watch how much liberty and freedom and stress-free days your wife has where she doesn't have to go to work and punch a clock and deal with work and bring work back home and then deal with the kids and then try to make sure you're satisfied in the ways that, couples do. And then go back to, he was like, after my wife, stopped working, I saw a different side of her that I had never seen before in my life. And he was like, in a good way. Because he was like, I realized that she wasn't stressed out with the job and then coming home trying to manage, a household and children. And so I think that for me, that's one of the biggest benefits that I see with my wife is that, like, I remember when she used to work, she was always be stressed out and the drive. And it's like, dang, like, man, like, but now that she's been home for a couple of years, it's like, I see a different side of her that I didn't get to see early on in our marriage because she was working. She home, she baking cookies and making arts and crafts. You know what I'm saying? I'm like,
okay,
yo.
hold on. Don't be no. Okay, so Dale is really trying to paint this picture that I'm walking around here barefoot and pregnant.
Sure, that's not what I said at all.
I mean, you trying to. She baking cookies, she in the kitchen where she's supposed to be.
Matter of fact, I'm still waiting on the brownies that you said you'll make 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, exactly. See, I'm staying home. I hadn't baked nothing in the last 2 weeks now. but no.
We be eating out every day, yo. Oh boy, yo.
I mean, we just had a baby, so what you gonna do?
Yeah.
Hey. And so I mean, such is life. But I'm just saying, like, you're painting. Not you're trying. I'm sorry, I'm not gonna misrepresent you. But it seemed like you are painting a picture for those who do not know. It's like that is our lifestyle.
Yeah.
I stay home. That's the decision we had to make as a couple, not you have to be home and you have to be, with these kids.
I mean, it was difficult too at first, if I'm being honest. It was difficult because as a man, you're like, man, I'm losing the extra money a year.
The funny part is,
I don't know about that.
The funny part is,
I don't know what I'm doing.
Remember, I never put
30, 40 grand a year.
No. Remember when we first got married, I never put money in our bank accounts. And because I got paid in cash, and you would be like, out somewhere trying to buy something, and you're like, oh, I thought you just worked. And I'm like, I did, but you should have just asked me for the money. Remember that?
I just know I paid for your wedding ring with cash because I remember the woman looked at me like I was a dope dealer or something because I gave her like straight cash. But I mean, anyway, that's no story yourself. Nah, I don't remember. I don't even want to go there because she looked at me like I was somebody who sold dope because I gave her like straight cash. But I guess, I mean, if you're paying for a wedding ring with cash, I mean, I guess that kind of could look like you suspicious or something.
Suspicious
versus with a card.
Look, you hard working. No matter how you got the money, you hard working. You worked hard for it, even if you robbed a bank. You worked hard for it.
You say so?
No, but no. So I mean, I definitely hear what you're saying, though. I get the moral of the story. Like, I get your point. You have to consider, how you gonna provide for people. You know what? It makes me think about when a woman gets pregnant, and I feel like this is like for younger or even teen parents or pregnancies. It's like, what you gonna do with a baby? You know what I'm saying? You have to consider how you are going to provide and care for.
I'm Dale Skinner, and I don't sponsor a teen pregnancy. Continue on.
No, look, it happens, Dale, but it happens. Whether or not you sponsor, Dale, and somebody could be 19. They could be out the house and be 19 and be pregnant. I didn't mean like 15, 16. They could be like 19 and be pregnant.
I was very unsure. You said teen pregnancy.
No, I was 20 and
Teens
pregnant.
like 13 years old. So
no, Dale, really? Okay. Anyways, no, I was just saying, like, either way, I said young adult. I did say young adult. I said teen and young adult. Either way, I feel like families will say, well, what are you going to do with a child? What are you going to do with, a baby? What are you going to do with your life? And it's like, you're so young and you're trying to figure everything out. At least back in my day, we didn't have access, or we did have access, but it wasn't as well known as like the influencer lifestyle is today, where you can be making like money hand over fist, at 19. So
yeah, I mean, I agree. I mean, I just say for any couple out there today, or the point of our podcast for today, as far as I'm considered, is that you don't have to be making no 6, 7, 8, 9 figures, to live a good, comfortable life. There are a lot of men out there who don't make that, you know what I'm saying, and that's fine, and they're living, they're and their wives are living very, very comfortably. But I think that As long as a man is able to provide you with the basics, the rest is, that right there is more than what most people in America have to even start with. Me and my wife, we live in Baltimore, and how many people do we see walking or riding the bus to work? You know what I'm saying? And at one point in time, that was me. I was taking the subway to work. Ain't nothing wrong with that. But I'm saying, as long as a man is able to provide you, with the bare minimum, you should probably be satisfied with that until he's able to get to a place in you guys' life or marriage where he can do more, so.
I really wanted to say, consider that you can grow from there, but as long as your spouse or yourself is willing. I'm not saying go for somebody, with the potential, because you see the potential, but it's like, you got to start somewhere.
Yeah.
I just think about how you might find a successful man or woman, right, that you are interested in being with. And it's like, well, man, they're so successful. They have this business, that business. Not to say that they will have time for you, but they will be running their business. You know what I'm saying? Like, they'll be busy running their business, and then you have to find your way in. Not that you can't navigate that, but I just feel like when things are established, like just as far as someone in their career, someone in their success, when they're established, it's almost like it's a lot harder to not play catch up.
I mean, you don't have time. I mean, when you're established, your time is very limited. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, even for myself, I have a wife, 3 children, and I work. So right now, in this point in my life, I'm very picky about who I choose to give my time to. I don't give my time to everybody.
Oh, listen, Dale.
I don't have that much of it.
Well, this is what I wanted to say. I was about to be like, well, you don't got time for nobody else? No way. Like, what are you talking about?
I'm talking about outside of just working and the children and being married. I don't have time to be like willingly with somebody. You know what I'm saying? I don't have time for that, man.
You have to consider those things. Exactly. I mean, because on that note, let's think about it. When you were, young, didn't have any kids, didn't have
all the time in the world,
didn't have bills to pay for. You had time.
None of you chicks checking for me. None of y'all checking for me.
Back then, you didn't want me. Now I'm hot. No, now I'm married. You all up on me.
Nah, ain't all up on me. Nah, that's not my confession.
Let's keep it that way. Like, you're absolutely right. Like, back then, you have time to, like, I don't know.
Burn,
Yeah, run around with friends, or let me see what's going on over here, or be in people's business, or be in the drama. But the older you get, I mean, some people got time for that. But, when you are focused on, building something with your family, having those memories to look back on, raising your children, and all of the above, right? That comes with, family life and married life. It's like, no, I don't have time to keep up with, Susie and Jim and whatever they was doing over there. I do not have time for that. I don't have time for the latest shows. It's cool if I watch 1 or 2, but you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't have time for
those days
all
are over, man, for us.
I mean,
those days are over for us.
For now.
Oh, man.
For now.
We be trying, yo. We do. We be trying.
With the shows.
We be trying, yo.
Yeah.
We can't. Right. We just focus on movies now. We just watch like one movie. We call it a day.
I laughed so bad at my mother growing up. She fell asleep on every movie, but it was like that was the time where the kids were like
quiet.
We were quiet. Man, I fall asleep on just about every movie. Like, it's a blessing if I can get through a movie nowadays. But yeah, so I mean, you start to reevaluate your time, and I think also too that plays into maybe who you're searching for as a mate.
Yeah.
Well, I've enjoyed my conversation with you today.
Me too. We hope you all appreciated the conversation on today. We hope you guys benefited and gained something from it. Until next time.
Hey, y'all don't go anywhere just yet. I want to tell you that we have something new in the works. If you follow us on our social medias at About This Love on Instagram and Facebook, you would have seen our new set. So head over to, once again, our Instagram and our Facebook page to be updated with the latest going-ons and happenings behind the scenes. I want you guys to get excited. Until next time.
Peace.
Thank you for tuning into today's podcast episode. Be sure to follow and share your thoughts as we continue the conversation on About This Love's Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube channel. Join the About This Love community on Discord. The ATL podcast episodes can be found on all podcast streaming platforms. If you've enjoyed today's conversation, please consider submitting a donation via PayPal or Cash App to keep our podcast going. Click on the link below to find our podcast and social media platforms. Thank you. Until next time, peace.